Welcome to the Connect with TrueSight webinar. During today's webinar, you're able to ask questions of our panelists in the Q&A pod. The questions, answers, along with today's recording, will be published to our YouTube channel a week from today's broadcast. Today's webinar is TSOM Report Engine Best Practices, and Alicia and Aruna will take us through this content. Over to you, Alicia.
Thank you, Greg. Hello, everyone. My name is Alicia Beltran. I'm a Staff Support Analyst at BMC Software. I work with TrueSight Operations Management Reporting Product, also known as Report Engine, and with the Smart Reporting product line. This webinar is focused on monitor the Report Engine data collection process. Today, we will present an overview of the product TrueSight Operations Management Reporting, or Report Engine, general recommendations for health check, how to monitor the data collection, a description of the database jobs, and finally, examples of documented troubleshooting guides. Let's start with an overview of TrueSight Operations Management Reporting, or TSOM reporting. There are two main components involved, the report engine and the TrueSight Smart Reporting tool. Both products use separate databases. I will explain more about this on next slide. The report engine is a Java ETL that compiles data. There are three different types of data on TSOM reporting: performance, impact, and event data. Report Engine periodically summarizes performance data and calculates impact metrics using event data. The TrueSight Smart Reporting tool is a business intelligence software that allows the creation of reports with a simple drag-and-drop action. It uses the data that is processed by the ETL report engine. It's important to know all the components involved on the data flow of TSOM reporting. First, the cell of TrueSight Infrastructure Management, or TSIM, which has its own database, propagates the event data to the report engine. Cell event data recollection is near to a real-time data. Then the report engine queries the TSIM database for device configuration and performance data to later insert aggregated and summarized data on its own database. TrueSight Smart Reporting, or TSSR, connects to the report engine database to fetch data into reports. This is a read-only connection, as report engine database is the data source of TSSR. TSSR also has its own database on which is constantly reading and writing for application configuration and for metadata. All reports definitions are stored on this database. Now, there is a question here. Why to use report engine instead of TSSR connecting to the TSIM database directly? The answer is because TSIM does not have a normalized database and report engine does. This reduces data redundancy and improves data integrity. Also, different data retention periods are available on report engine and not on TSIM side. Finally, the TrueSight Presentation Server, or TSPS, handles the authentication and authorization for user permissions. It connects the end user to TSSR. From TSPS, users will be able to configure the external attribute sets, which are a requirement to be able to see performance data on reports. Let's move to health check. As the data collection process is handled at Report Engine database, it's important to monitor the database server. Make sure the database server resources are aligned with the environment size. As an example, the minimum resources for a small environment are 8 CPU cores, 8 GB of RAM, and 500 GB of disk space. More information about hardware sizing recommendations can be found on the official TSOM reporting documentation page. The corresponding link will be provided on the reference slide. Keep an eye on the size of the table spaces on Oracle or the file groups on SQL. Once again, depending on the size of the environment defined during the planning stage when installing the product, the table spaces or file groups will reach to a limit quickly if wrong environment size was selected when the table spaces or file groups were created when the script of Report Engine database was executed. It's important to constantly monitor the database server resources. If it is observed that after some time of using the Report Engine tool, the CPU, RAM, or disk space usage are reaching the limit, it will be necessary to increase the resources. Hence, it will be better to increase the resources prior noticing a performance issue on the environment due to lack of resources. Speaking of performance issues, keep in mind if databases of other applications are hosted on same server to be able to assign the necessary resources on the server. Now, how to monitor if the data collection process is working as expected? For event data, these 4 queries can be used to verify the status of data collection. The first query displays the max time on which events were processed. The second query displays the max time on which a previously processed event was modified. The third query displays the total of events that were processed. And the last query displays the total of events that were received on the event queue and not yet processed. These 4 queries can be used frequently to compare each result over a period of time to verify if event data collection is lagging. For example, all queries can be executed at the beginning of the day and then at the end of the day. For performance data, these 5 queries can help to monitor the data collection. If multiple report engine servers are present on the environment, the first query will display from which TSIM each report engine is collecting data. It will display each server ID, which can be used in other queries from the where condition. The second query displays the epoch time for each monitor, meaning raw data collection has reached at this time. Web pages like Epoch Converter or database functions can be used to see the epoch value as a normal date time. The third query shows the max time for raw data for each monitor type on each report engine server. The fourth query displays the max time for hourly summarized data for each monitor type for each report engine server. And the last query displays the list of attributes that were configured in the external attribute set for a particular monitor type by server ID. When monitoring the data collection, it's important to know the database jobs that are involved and what action each job is handling. Before explaining each job, I want to clarify how the complete jobs names are observed on the Report Engine database. First, it will include the Report Engine database name, followed by underscore, then the database user, followed by underscore, and finally the job name. Here's an example of one of the jobs' name. There are some jobs that are present on Oracle only, and some will be present depending on the database edition. There are two types of execution frequency, daily and hourly. Hence, this list is not representing a specific order of execution. The jobs will be triggered depending on this daily or hourly frequency. The first job on the list checks for the daylight saving time, DST, and makes changes when DST starts or ends. Next job updates the table and views statistics in the database metadata. This one rebuilds the index to increase the efficiency of queries. This job refreshes a database view named BW extend component slot D. Next one, purge data according to the values in the data retention table. Following two jobs summarizes hourly data into daily data. The difference is that first one is present on Oracle with a different name. This one adds day-wise future partitions for partitioned tables. This job summarizes stats data into hourly data. Next job refreshes threshold tables. This job is present on Oracle only, and it refreshes the BW config data materialized view. And this one refresh weekly, monthly, quarterly, and yearly summary data views and is applicable only on Oracle. When monitoring the database jobs execution on Oracle, the RE log table of Report Engine database can be reviewed to see the log of the job's activity. Also, below query can be used to check the status of the Oracle scheduled jobs to ensure that no job is broken and to ensure that the next scheduled run shows the correct value. For example, jobs that are scheduled for hourly execution must show the next execution for corresponding next hour. On SQL Server, the Job Activity Monitor can be used on the Microsoft SQL Management Studio to review all this information. I will now turn it over to Aruna to take us through the demo for monitoring data collection and database jobs.
Thank you, Greg and Alicia. My name is Aruna. I'll cover the demo now. We'll walk you through a few set of queries to check how the data collection is happening for event data. These are the few set of queries which we have, and I'm going to the database. The first query shows a max time of a newly processed event, and this has been processed on 31st of March. Second query shows max time of a modified event. That means when the event has been modified. Third query shows number of processed event, like how many number of events has been processed. And the final query shows how many number of events are there on the queue to get processed. Now I will show how to create a report on event data and how to schedule that report. This is my TSPS, and I'm doing a cross-launch to TrueSight Smart Reporting from here. And right hand side you have a plus symbol. If you click on it, here you have a certain set of options, how to create a report, dashboard, view, data source, and so on. I'll click on report, and here we have views, and we have two default out-of-box views which comes when we install two-side smart reporting. One is device metrics and events, other is CI impact and events. To create an event report, we need to select device metrics and events. Here you have to select for object. Depending on your requirement, you have to create a report. And in two-side smart reporting, we have a feasibility that you can create custom reports. Here I am just taking to the max aggregation. Here you have a filter option. You can drag the filters also. For example, I'm just dragging event arrival date. And if you go to advanced settings, here you have an option to select the filters like in between, different, greater, whatever. You can define a value here. I'm closing this. And we have a publish option here to publish this report. That means to save this report. Here you need to give a report name. And this is a folder where you want to save this report. And this is a subfolder. For this I have created as a demo. Okay. And here we have two set of access types for the reports. One is public. That means this report can be accessed by anyone. And second, we have a private. That means this report can be accessed to only certain set of users to whom the report owner gives the permission. You need to save. Click on save and the report will get saved. Okay. And here you have a different options where you can export this report to different formats. You can share this report, and here we have a broadcast option. You can broadcast this report. Click on broadcast. Here you can select recipients, like to how many recipients you want to broadcast report. Then email subject and the email body. Here you have a different type of formats. You can select any format so that in that particular format this report will get broadcast. And here you have a frequency. For example, minutes, daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly and annually. Then you need to click on submit. The broadcast has been submitted now. Now I will show the data collection for performance data. These are few set of queries we have for the performance data. This first query shows on which TSOM each report engine is collecting the data along with the server ID. This is a TSOM host, report engine host. For each report engine host, a server ID will get generated. This is a second query where when we run this query, it shows an epoch time for each monitor. This is the epoch time, and to convert this, we have an epoch converter. This third query shows the max time for raw data for each monitor type and each report engine. And this fourth query shows a max time for hourly summarized data for each monitor type followed by each report engine. And finally, the last query gives us the output for the attribute which we create in an external attribute set in the TSOM. This is the attribute name, this is a server ID, and this is the attribute set name. Now I will show you how to create a report on the performance data. same plus symbol, report and select device metrics and events. I'm selecting attribute name, attribute status. For example, if you want hourly data, you need to select the hour object from here. This is how the data looks. Click on publish. Let's say it has performance test a demo. Same way I am giving as public. Click on save. For performance data, by default, when we install TrueSight Smart Reporting, we will have server health report. Only one report you will get as an out of box, and remaining all reports you have to create on your own depending on your requirement. Yeah. The same way you have to do a broadcast or share or export. If you want to see where you have saved the report, you need to go to Browse, Reports, and here you have a folders. Under this you have a subfolder, Demo, and here I have created the report. Okay. Now I will show the database jobs which we have for TrueSight Report Engine. These are few set of database jobs we have. This is in the database. How this name is given, like first is Report Engine 2, that is a database name, plus RE2, which is a database user, and then followed by the names, which is a job name. And this shows the job this is enabled or not, the status of the job, when this job has last run, and along with the time and date, and when is the next run is scheduled. We have this query, select star from re_log, which shows the database activities which are not recorded in the report engine logs. Okay. See, this clearly shows that along with the error number, error message, error time, and the ID as well. This concludes the demo. Back to you, Alicia.
Thank you, Aruna. The last topic of this webinar is about the troubleshooting guides that were created by BMC support. This information can be found on the troubleshooting section at the top level of the product documentation page, and it's based on commonly raised support issues. I will present some of them. When troubleshooting an issue, one of the first things to do is to refer to the logs. First, it is necessary to know where the logs are located. For this product, the log folder is inside the report engine folder located under the product install path. Now, there are scenarios on which it's necessary to have detailed information on logs which is not available by default. On report engine product, it's common that support requests for finest logs when troubleshooting event data collection issues. To enable this setting, it's necessary to edit the report engine log properties file log4j2.xml and set to finest mode the corresponding logger. Depending on the version of the product, the lines that are modified are different. This knowledge article covers the necessary steps. Here's an example. We can see that event aggregator logger level is set to finest. A restart of report engine service is required. After around 2 to 4 hours, new set of logs can be collected to review the cycle of event data recollection process. Now, what if overall data collection process stops or after a fresh install, data collection never started? This behavior has been observed on SQL environments on which the sysadmin role was assigned to the report engine database user. This is not a best practice. To solve the issue, it will be necessary to remove the sysadmin role from the report engine user and restart the report engine service. Then the data collection will take place without issues. Again, this particular issue is present on SQL environments only. Continuing with data collection issues, what to check if performance data is not being collected? There are two root causes identified for this problem. True-site infrastructure management (TSIM) server is not registered. External attribute sets are not defined. The solution has been documented on this knowledge article, which covers following solutions. If there are no errors but data is not getting transferred, make sure that TSIM server is registered. Generate a list of all available patrol parameters that collect data in the TSIM server. Run the following SQL query on the TSIM database or use the run SQLi command. Make sure that attribute sets are defined with the type as external report. Follow the corresponding documentation link that can be found on the reference slide. Another kind of issues are observed on installation. For example, a cell registration issue is observed in multiple report engine environments. If you install new report engine after uninstalling an existing report engine, the cell registration fails. The cause of this issue is due to cell not being unregistered when an existing report engine is uninstalled. The error "cell already registered" is displayed during install of a new report engine when registration details for that cell are provided. The solution has been documented on this knowledge article, which explains that it is necessary to unregister the TSIM server and the cell that is registered with the report engine before uninstalling that report engine. A common issue during report engine installation when using SQL Server database occurs if the database login password is not set according to the password complexity policy. Report engine might throw a Java null pointer exception with database authentication failure. To solve this issue, ensure that the option "Password must meet complexity requirements" is enabled on SQL Server Local Security Policy Console. This issue is explained on this knowledge article, which also covers general information from the planning stage of the product deployment to the install steps and post-install configurations. The last example is about data not available in the hourly and daily tables in the report engine database and daylight saving not being calculated, resulting in an incorrect time difference. This happens after a fresh installation because report engine database does not contain information about daylight saving for the period after 31 of December of 2019. To fix this, it is necessary to either apply a hotfix for the corresponding version or to upgrade to version 11.3.02 patch. The hotfix can be found on this knowledge article. Both the hotfix and the patch insert the necessary information for daylight saving on the report engine database. Here are the reference links corresponding to the information covered on this webinar. On this webinar, we have reviewed how to monitor the data collection handled by TrueSight Operations Management Reporting, also known as Report Engine, by understanding the components involved on the data flow and how the data is being processed. We also review what to consider for a health check, which relies on the Report Engine database server. We review and demonstrate how to use queries to check the event and performance data collection and how to review the Report Engine database jobs execution. Finally, some examples of troubleshooting guides were reviewed related to common data collection issues. That concludes our presentation. Back to you, Greg.
Thank you. And now I'll take us through the self-help in contacting BMC. The YouTube channel where this webinar will be posted is listed here. It contains past webinars as well as a rich set of how-to videos. The Connect with BMC Helix ITSM and Remedy webinar schedule is available at this community's link, and the Hot Off the Press newsletter for trending information is available at this community's post. As always, contacting technical support via web, phone, email, and these social channels is available. At this time, that will conclude this webinar. Thank you for attending.